seats of
And the talk shouldn't be about, it should have been partisan.
Yes. Yes, I hope they will be able to do that.
Because you had from Bola Tinubu saying that he will consult with his party. And I have from Chineye here saying that, well, I totally disagree with the senator, Bola Tinubu there, that it shouldn't be a party affair, but a people's affair.
Yeah,
so
instead
of you saying you consult with your party, you should be saying, I'll consult with my ethnic group.
Yes.
That means we're getting it wrong sometimes, because even those who are politicians, if they come up with such statements or argument, it looks like, well, this talk we've always been talking about having, we still don't have a firm grasp of what it is about.
Yeah, I agree with you on that too.
Yeah, but don't you think that the lines are blurred? Because let's look at, say, ACN, former ACN, what is now
the APC
in the Southwest. I mean, we've seen how people who are the current crop of politicians now, or the same group of people, or most of them, have always clamored for a national conference. Remember the agitations, most of them used to be in civil societies. You can see that, you know, there is a movement of some sort, like, if we can't get what we want, we will seize the moment of what we have, so that members who have always clamored for a national conference, most of them have already joined political parties. And then when you look at the dominance of a party that used to be the ACN in the Southwest, how is it, you know, how do we begin to differentiate or sift, you know?
It's just like
party people from
it's the same thing with,
people.
it's just like the question on whether we can ignore state governments. It is also going to be very difficult to dismiss the parties. Of course, the parties would also want to have some influence or say into what comes out of the conference. But for the purposes of, if I were to advise the committee, let me put it that way, I think the emphasis should be on ethnic nationalities, because that's actually what makes up the country.
Ethnic nationalities, but, you know, a host of people are afraid of the influence of politicians, not necessarily the governments, the governors themselves, but, you know, the undue or unnecessary influence of politicians, which they think most likely will be selfish or self-centered and not necessarily in the interest of the people. You know, but how do we then now say we're looking at people who have the interest of the people at heart, when we know that at the heart of it all is politics?
Well, I think that's actually that's one of the things I hope the committee would be able to. These are some of the issues I think.
It's naughty, right?
Because some of it's going to be political, of course. That's why it's good. It will be good for them to consult widely on how to have the right people, you know, attend the conference, because it's tricky, like you said. It's very tricky. You know, drawing that line between who is being influenced by a politician and who is not being influenced by a politician. But
our last guest here said that the success of this particular committee depends to a large extent on how Nigerians participate or get their voices heard or not, and that if the committee fails, is because we Nigerians allowed it to fail. What do you say about that?
Yes, and that is why I started by emphasizing the importance of trust, because it is trust that will bring in Nigerians. If people are skeptical, they would stay away. That is why government has to work to win back the trust and confidence of Nigerians, because it's when Nigerians have confidence and trust in the process that they will participate. If they don't have confidence and trust in the process, then
how would they work to gain back their confidence and trust?
I've suggested a few of them by showing seriousness. You know, showing seriousness. So I want to see the Femi Okonu committee, Okoromo committee, you know, come up with its findings. I would want the federal government to make their findings public. I would want us to talk about their findings, because this is how you build trust. You know, this whole idea of the committee submits their report, it's hidden somewhere, and then a committee of ministers is set up, and then they start altering and removing and putting things. Yeah, you know, it doesn't help build that. Instead, it creates suspicion.
The other side of it, when you talked about timing, now timing and building trust. Now, many Nigerians out there think the timing is wrong because there are other issues that could be dealt with now. we're still battling insecurity in the northern part of the country, battling corruption across the country, and issues, ASU is on strike and all of that, and this is coming up. How would that work?
And that's why I also pointed out that, I think the challenge or maybe probably the handlers of the president are having is that they don't see the connection in these things. That if you are not able to resolve these small problems that are scattered all over the country, then it's going to be difficult for anybody to believe that you'll be able to solve the big one. So if you can't mediate with ASU, if you can't mediate with the doctors, if you can't mediate with all these small interest groups, then how should Nigerians believe, or how can Nigerians believe that when you now call a national conference, you'll be able to mediate amongst the different ethnic nationalities and the complicated interests that they have? So that's the point I've been trying to basically say. It's important, and one of the ways of doing that is by, attending to some of these small issues that you pointed out.
The point here is that the people coming together, what kind of mindset should they have? Because are we trying to change the mindset of the average Nigerian? For Anke Briggs, she just said something about first being an Ijaw before a Nigerian. And if we all go with that mindset to that discussion, don't you think we'll be leaving such places without achieving anything?
Well, I think part of what the conference would achieve is to help build a nation, because at the moment we've not successfully built one. Get the people within the geographical space called Nigeria to begin to think and believe that they are Nigerians, and stop thinking about their small ethnic identities. So there's nothing wrong when they go there with those identities. The important thing is that they are given the opportunity to place all their issues on the table, and these issues are discussed and agreed upon.
And it's important it works. If it doesn't...
Yes, it is important. But that's why I said what will make it work is that trust. Trust is very, very important. It's important that those that are coming believe that there is no hidden agenda, that there is no political calculations around this whole thing. So once the federal government is able to convince people that there is no political calculations, nobody's trying to score any political points here, then I believe very strongly that people will come and they will participate genuinely.
Are you not being too idealistic in terms of what you're expecting from the arrangement, as it were?
Well, I don't know. Idealistic. I don't think I'm being idealistic. I'm just being realistic. Because if somebody says you should come and negotiate, you would want to trust the person you're negotiating with before you even engage in the negotiation in the first place. So it's important that the person who is facilitating the negotiation is trusted and believed. So I think it's just it's something that is basic. That you get the best people to preside over the process of negotiation.
How would you suggest that Nigerians get their voices heard in terms of how, this committee should go about making a framework for the participation of all in a national conference?
Well, that again depends on the opportunities that the committee provides. But I would suggest that the platforms be as broad as possible. That will have as many platforms for people to have an engagement with both the government and the membership of the conference.
So you definitely see them going about the country or going around the country to gather.
Yes, of course. Of course, you cannot want to do a national conference of this magnitude without consulting widely. It is very important, very, very important. Very important. Otherwise, people, like I said, people will continue to go around with this.
If that's the case, do you think 6 weeks then is sufficient time for them to come up with something concrete?
That's why I pointed out the issue of timing. Why now? Is this the best time?
I mean, we'll talk about 6 weeks for this particular committee. Whether it is now or in the future, do you think that 6 weeks is enough time for any committee to be able to consult widely?
Well, they can. It just depends on the strategy they decide to. I don't know what their plan is or what, but of course I believe that the people in the in the committee are very, very intelligent, and they are very well experienced people. So it's about, I think they can sit down and agree on a mechanism to get those feedbacks. And mostly, I think what the committee is even supposed to do is advisory. I was told it's supposed to advise the government on how to go about. But I think they can come. I really can't sit here and tell you this is how I think they should go about doing the consultation or traveling around the country. But whatever method they use, it is very important that it be as wide as possible.
And it's also very important we realize those that have actually caused us this problem, because it looks like we're having diverse views. Some say the colonial masters at that point in time who came 100 years ago, and some others would say no, after bringing Nigeria together, Nigerians were actually responsible for its woes.
Well, as somebody who is also from civil society, I think that the problem really, the problem is that we've not had the opportunity to sit down, like in a conference like this, to agree on the basis for our staying together. I think that's the real problem. I don't want to blame the British or probably the early politicians. I just think that what the problem we've had is that we've not had that opportunity. And I think that if we are able to, if we use this one very well, we may come close to something that will be agreeable for everybody.
Well, Collins Okeke, would like to thank you for coming.
Okay.
Well, another moment here on Sunrise Daily. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us.